Houston Texans on the road in New York, facing the New York Jets. The Jets actually the favorite in this one, which seems nuts because they've lost 5 straight and they just continue to unravel. They lost to the Patriots, who are one of the worst teams in the NFL. But with the Texans, Stefon Diggs, their first game without him on a short week as he tore his ACL in practice. Nico Collins still on the IR, so still not playing for them. What do you make of this matchup? It's CJ Stroud against Aaron Rodgers. It's also 2 really good defenses playing 2 offenses that are going through a lot of turmoil and adversity right now.
I don't understand why the Jets still have believers out there, but there are some people who just will not let go of this team, and I think it's only because of the names on the back of the jerseys.
Right.
That's it. What have they shown you to prove that they can they can welcome in a Houston Texans team and win? I understand in the NFL, the home team is usually favored, and that's probably why they have a bit of an advantage because they're at home. They don't have to go into a hostile environment, the way the crowd plays into games, et cetera, et cetera. But I think because of the injuries, maybe that's also feeling like people are giving the Houston Texans an opportunity here. Obviously, Stefon Diggs was the leading wide receiver for them as far as yardage. He was top 10 in the NFL with receptions. That is a piece that you just don't overnight on a short week coming off of Sunday and then, plug and play. So they're going to be hurting there. Nico Collins is also out. So 2 big pieces offensively that they're going to be needing to try and move on a Jets defense that has been pretty stout. They've been pretty solid. They've been good up front as well. So I feel like maybe that's part of the narrative that's been spoken here that's given the Jets an edge. But I just feel like Houston overall, top to bottom, and as far as their cohesion, is a much better team.
Yeah.
So, but this could be one of those trap games where the Jets finally figure it out. All that time they spend in the darkness, they finally come to the light.
Exactly. They got a quarterback, tell him to make peace with the darkness. We're like, what's going on? But I agree with you with this. You watched it. You watched it. And losing Stefon Diggs is a huge piece of this offense. No one's dictating that. But how bad the Jets have looked and how good the Texans have looked. And even in their losses, how close they were, who the opponents were. The Jets couldn't beat the Patriots. The Patriots have one of the worst rosters in the NFL. The Jets have a great roster, but they just can't get their stuff together. They burned 3 timeouts in the first quarter. Crucial 2-point conversion attempt at the end of the game. They get a delay of game and get pushed back again. The offense is just in flux. And what I go back to is the secondary for the Texans is talented, but it's their defensive line. It's Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. They create a ton of pressures. And this Jets offensive line is absolutely atrocious. And that's what's been hampering them in so many spots. So the Jets have all this talent, all these studs. It's also Aaron Rodgers, who has looked 40. He's dealing with an injured knee, an ankle, a hamstring. And part of what makes him great is his mobility within the pocket, is able to move around, make all these throws. And for a quarterback like him, we could talk about arm talent. It's everything from your toes up that allows you to be such a good thrower of the football. And knee, ankle, hamstring, those are all really crucial parts of anyone's body, especially someone that has to put their all into making some throws with a deep ball like him. Look, I think the defensive line for the Texans is going to come out and show up. I think the Jets offensive line is going to let them down, as they did against the Patriots at key spots. This is a better defense. And while the Texans lose to Stefon Diggs, Henry To'oTo'o, their one linebacker's out of concussion protocol, back practicing. Azeez Al-Shaair is a limited participant, but he's been really good, so he should help them with that. I think the proper steps can be made where this Texans defense is going to get better. And on a short week, give me the team with the better offense even without that, because both defenses are so good. I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair, as excited as everyone wants to be about CJ Stroud and Aaron Rodgers. The NFL was right by scheduling this game. I think on a short week, everything they're going through, it's going to be all about the defenses. And I just trust the Texans defense more right now. DeMeco Ryans has been great. The team has more consistency. They've been better. So I just like the Texans in this matchup. One thing that was floated out there, Jemai, and I like this question proposed by our producer, Ante. Should the Jets start considering Tyrod Taylor at quarterback and benching Aaron Rodgers? I say no way. But with how bad everything's looked, you can't write anything off.
Yeah, you can't, but I don't see that happening. Tyrod Taylor's he's been a good quarterback. He's been a starter in the league. He's been a fantastic backup, a great safety valve for several teams that he's played for. But he's still Aaron Rodgers. And I think, again, maybe I'm thinking about the history of what the man has done, because he hasn't necessarily shown us that he's been able to be that consistent over the course of 60 minutes in a football game on Sundays. But I think that would be completely waving the white flag for a team that's Super Bowl or bust. I think it's too early for that. If he's not injured, even if he's just a little bit hurt, I think Aaron Rodgers has to be behind center, and he has to be the quarterback leading this group.
Yeah, I agree. And it's like he's great, but like this offense hasn't been able to catch up. And like they're still getting used to a new play caller on the sidelines. You had Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson like teaching or telling Mike Williams where to line up and run a route. Like, dude, he's been with the team since training camp. Like Devontae Adams is telling you. He just got there. But it just shows how influx they just haven't gotten right. And they're still like trying to figure themselves out. But you keep Aaron Rodgers in because he's still great when he can. It's just there has to be so much well around him. He can't overcome a shortcoming of a wide receiver room. He can't overcome a lackadaisical offensive line anymore. And that's where the Jets have failed them in certain spots. What do you think for a final score for this game, man? What's your score prediction, Jemai?
Well, if you ask me who do I think is going to win, and my score would change based off who's going to be the winner. If the Texans win, I think it's going to be like a pretty much, 24, 27, 14 around there. If the Jets happen to win, they finally figured out. They get that act right then. It's going to be a 27-24 game, and they kind of squeak it out. Yeah. I think that's how it plays out. But I feel like there's going to be multiple touchdowns scored on each side. It's just a matter of, who finishes on top. And if the Jets win, I think it'll be a close one. If the Texans win, it'll be probably what we'd expect, probably 10, two-score game, 14, one of those situations where they win by 2 touchdowns.
I'm with you. I'm with the Texans winning. I went with like a funky score just because the defenses are good. I'm thinking it's going to be like 23-15. And it's just going to be something like...
That is incredibly funky.
Right? But it's like Jets going for 2 at the end, not getting it after getting one earlier. And the Texans find a way to squeak out scores. But we're the same way. Like, we both think the Texans win. And what you're pointing out, too, like, the total on this game is low. It's around 42, 41 where you look. I think we're going to see an under in this one. The Texans are dogs. Like, I'm going to take the money line on this one. I just think that's how it lays out. No matter what, though, it's going to be something you have to sweat if you choose to watch this game Thursday night.
Yeah.
What do you think? If there was a bet to make in the Jemiah Webster household, what bet would you be making on this game?
All right, so, I had to look this up a little bit because I usually get my bets from other people. But when I make my own, I tend to lose money. But if I'm looking at something that I like Joe Mixon over 25.5 receiving yards. 4 of his last 5 games, he's gone over that mark. He's projected to have almost 30 yards receiving, and I think he's been utilized in the pass game by the Texans a lot. And he's one of those weapons that even I, from a fantasy football standpoint, Joe Mixon's been on my roster probably 4 out of the last 6 years because of his ability to either be a pass catcher or a runner. I like him to be able to be a key piece for Houston out of the backfield. So I'm going Joe Mixon over 25.5 receiving yards.
I mean, that's also a good bet because no Nico Collins, no Stefon Diggs. We need to see more from Tank Dell. And obviously we'll see more from like their tight ends. But Joe Mixon's an every down back. He's going to be there on the field, a lot of passing opportunities. They're going to be throwing the ball. Someone has to catch it. So someone has to step up in the receiving game. I like that. Like I said, I'm going to go money line Texans. But I like if the Texans win, I think Joe Mixon has to have a good game all around, not just rushing, but receiving as well. So I like that bet.